Good evening and welcome to All for United WFC. We are back. It's a Thursday. Don't get your head twisted. It's not Monday. We're not trying to confuse you. But we've been missing in action for a little while with the international break. And we thought we should probably get ourselves in here and have a little conversation. Because there's just a small, teeny, tiny little matter of a cup final immediately following an international break. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we do, let's welcome our esteemed panel as we are going to get ourselves into this cracking weekend fixture. Soph and Beth, lovely to have you both with us. Soph, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm annoyed that we had about maybe 2 days of sun and it's now like torrential. Actually, funny story that I'll share for everyone. I just slipped down my stairs and it was really embarrassing in the rain because I was wearing slides and I proper fell in front of about 10 people that were walking past my house. So, but I'm good. I'm really good.
It feels like some sort of confessions of a nightmare day today because Beth, I don't know if she's going to confess what happened to her in a moment ago, but honestly, it's like an episode of Some Mothers Do Have Them. But there we are. So that's so for you. She's falling down the stairs. Beth, what's going on in your life?
Yeah, I mean, you almost said it for me there, Barry. I was doing all good. I've been away I went away for the weekend, so I got a bit more sun, so I was happy. And then I've come back and I've gone for a swim. And as I've come back into my flat, it's all electric, so we have fobs. And I was completely locked out of the building. And it turns out the whole system's gone down. You needed your phone to ring up to get in, but you're not allowed to take your phone in the pool area where I was. So obviously I couldn't ring to get in. So I've spent a good half an hour running around trying to get to the concierge and stuff just to try and get in my own flat, which is, that's just standard, right?
Unbelievable. I'm trying to think of something terrible that's happened to me, and all I can think of is that my Tassimo didn't work properly this morning and coffee went everywhere. But I solved that by just going to McDonald's and getting one there with a double sausage and egg McMuffin. So I feel like I may have got out of today slightly better, but I'm pleased you're both with us, girls. So thank you very much for joining us, and lovely to have you in the chat as well. Gareth's already here, looking excited. Feels like months since the last, literally been 2 weeks. It feels like forever. I completely agree. It's a bit mad. We've got Chelsea fans in the building asking us if we've got nerves. Of course, Twalumba is back, as you would expect, and he's as positive as he always is, which is lovely to see. So lots going on. This bit about Guru Wrighton going off to the States was a huge bit of news as well. And of course, the boss is having a little watch. He's looking to make sure that we're all behaving, which of course we're not, because the boss isn't properly here, is he? So what can he do? Not a lot. They're better to ask forgiveness than permission, I think. Right. Oh, somebody new. I've not seen this one in the chat before. Good afternoon. Just got back from Jamaica. It was 30 degrees. Well, that's certainly going to make people like so feel better about the weather. That's for sure. Right. So much to talk about. I think the first thing I want to talk about before we get really into the nuts and bolts of this one is, as we just said, we've just come back off the end of a international break. And I worry about this. I can't get my head around the logistical planning of this. It's traditionally known that you don't necessarily get the best games in the history of the world immediately after an international break. Players are tired, they're jet lagged, they've just come back from having a tricky little bit of travelling and football to play. They've got to get back into the swing of things. And what have they decided to do? Let's put a major final in immediately afterwards. And for us and Chelsea, we were talking about this on the WOFO channel the other day. It causes problems with the fixtures, because obviously we've now got to play, both of us, on the Wednesday, and then we've got to play on the Saturday because of the fact there's Europe in the midweek as well. So instead of protecting the teams that are in Europe and have the potential to be playing that, in fact, what they've actually done is given a bit of a fixture pile up. As Couture Criminal says here, well done, Nikki. But it seems to me to be very foolish. It doesn't feel like the most sensible thing in terms of, one, getting a really entertaining game, but two, also in terms of rewarding teams that have been successful, we're all going to want to see English teams. I say we're all going to want to see English teams. I forget which channel I'm on. We're all going to want to see Man United do well, surely, but also just English teams in general doing well in Europe and these competitions. So, I'll throw it to you first. What's going on? Do we need to write a petition?
I'll sign it. I'd sign it. Yeah, it's tough because it's like wherever you put an international break or a major final, you're going to have someone kicking off about it, right? Like there's always someone who's going to be mad that, oh, we've got this big game, or oh, the weather was bad, or it's my nan's birthday. So it's you're never going to please anyone, but at the same time, like I do agree that maybe it's a bit of an oversight. I think it's hard to criticize it because I feel like if we now sit here and criticize the fixture congestion and then end up those games maybe don't go our way, it's just going to be absolutely written off as, oh, you're just complaining because you lost. So I do think it's important to talk about it in advance. And yeah, I am in agreement that it's not ideal, but I think you're going to get some fixture congestion no matter where you put these kind of things. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things in the WSL that I could say should be better planned, and this is one of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. Of course, it's going to be a situation where you're never going to keep everybody happy, and Beth, so it's not wrong to say that. But I mean, again, it's a midweek fixture. Like it's rare that you get midweek fixtures in the WSL at all. But surely, this could have been sorted out by putting some of these games either a bit earlier on in the season, have a midweek fixture for everybody in the WSL or something, just so that it frees up these sort of midweek positions and possibilities. It feels really strange to me. And even if you take aside the fixture congestion and just everything else, just as the spectacle of an event, why immediately after an international break? Because generally clubs don't perform well after that.
Yeah, it is bizarre. I can't say I remember it happening this way before in the past, but I will be honest and say I've not paid enough attention to this one, seeing as we've never really made it this far. It's just bizarre. I don't really know how else to put it. I know we're coming to like the sticky end of the season, so it is always harder to get everything into place. But I don't know what else to say apart from the fact that it's just bizarre that it was allowed to happen in the first place. Obviously, it depends how you look at it. I know obviously we've got a smaller squad than Chelsea, but I think both teams could have the same problem in this situation where a lot of their players have gone to play internationally, or they've not played and they've been training where you're not quite at like the same level. It's really hard to almost come back to it as you left, or anything like that. So it is always going to be really difficult. And I think that as much as so saying, obviously if we don't bring it up now, then it's going to become a problem if we lose. It could be said for both teams as well. So, and that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what team it is. I think it whoever it would be in the WSL, you could argue that. So yeah, it is just really poor organisation. I think sometimes I always look at the calendar from the start of the season and just look at it ahead and think if we get there, then we've got where there's this break and it's not an international, maybe we've got this and maybe we've got that. And I feel like they could almost play with that a bit more, but it is hard because obviously they're not all under the same federations or anything. So it's not like they should be talking to each other, but it's almost like they're not.
I mean, I agree. It would be a really tricky one wherever you put it. And when we spoke about this as well, if you were to put it next week, it's just before a European match anyway. But if we were to do it the week after, it's been between two European games. So, yes, I completely get wherever you put it there. And it is exactly the same for both teams. I'm not for one second trying to suggest it's terrible just for United. It's not great for Chelsea. They're having to play at the exact same times as us. And that's what I mean. It's more of a globalised football one. Surely that we would both sides be able to come together and agree that was a bit shoddy. And I don't know. I just feel that maybe they could have put it at the end of March, which is right in the middle of that. We had a couple of weeks to get going. Europe's been played. Europe's been done. Now you can have a cup final. And yes, it would be after a big European game. But you know, that's what your squad depth's all about. But who knows? There we go. Look at that. So, you know, these things do happen. They are sent to try us. Right. Next thing I wanted to talk to you about was the actual location that we're going to be playing at. So obviously we made it to a cup final. Usually when you watch football, you're used to seeing that you made it to a cup final. So obviously you're off to Wembley or somewhere really big like that. Not been the case for the League Cup ever, really. And we must make a big point here. This is Manchester United's first ever League Cup final. They've never, ever got there before, which is quite a good statistic. It puts us up there with some massive teams in the footballing pyramid who've made it to the League Cup final just the once. Teams such as Lincoln, Notts County, and of course, the hosts themselves, the mighty Bristol City, who lost 6-0 in that COVID final against Chelsea. Arsenal, obviously the most successful side in this competition, nowhere to be seen on this occasion, having been sent packing by one of the finalists. I'll leave you to remember which one that was. But really importantly, as I say, the last final was at Pride Park in Derby. The one before that was at Molineux in Wolves. Then we had Selhurst Park in London and Plough Lane in Wimbledon and Vicarage Road in Watford. We're at Ashton Gate in Bristol City, which, to be fair, I suppose United coming down, them coming across, it's probably reasonably equidistant. Talk to us about how we're feeling about that. It's not a ground that we tend to go to that often. Beth, are you looking forward to seeing it there? I don't know if you're going or not, but is the fact it's at Bristol a big reason why you're not? What's the skinny for you?
I am going to be really biased because I live on the other side of the bridge. I'm literally just in Cardiff. So for me, it feels like a local. So for me, it's great. I'm not going to lie. I actually like that they're in smaller or let's just say smaller grounds or lower clubs grounds in that case. I think as much as we love playing at Wembley and everything, I think that it's really nice to it's just a really good way to keep everything growing lower as well, if that makes sense. Like, it's not just about the WSL in this case, and it depends how you look at it, because with the Molineux one, the pitch was just absolutely trash. I'm sure it was a couple of years ago. I don't think it was last season, was it? I think it was a season before. And that was just beyond, like, that shouldn't be allowed to happen. However, when you look at a team or a ground like Ashton Gate, you know, it's used by Bristol City, both men's and women's. It's used by the rugby as well, Bristol Bears. So it's a really well looked after ground, and it's really well kept. And I think by using a ground that's for a lower team anyway, just almost makes it a bit more like exciting, a bit more like intimate in that way, a bit more like, do you know, like when you go to a gig and you're going to see like a really big band, and then you end up seeing them at like the O2 Academy or whatever, it makes it feel a bit more special. And I know that sounds a bit daft, but that's almost how I'm treating it in this case. But like I said, I am really biased, because instead of it taking me anything between like 4 and 6 hours for me to get somewhere, it's going to take me an hour. So yes, I am biased.
Understandably so. Sinead is flying down, and now this automatically makes me wonder, where from? Are you flying from Manchester? Are you somewhere else? I'm going to be nosy now. I'd love to know where you're flying from. Not for any green reasons or anything like that. It's very, like most people drive. So it's quite interesting to see people fly in. Where are you coming from? Let us know. So, same question to you. It's a 27,000-seater stadium, and I think United were given roughly 4,000 tickets, which doesn't feel like a huge amount. I'm assuming if we got 4,000, Chelsea must have got about 4,000, which leaves you with, quick maths, 19,000 seats seemingly unaccounted for, which I presume were available every time you bought a footlong from Subway. I don't know quite how that works, but a bit strange, isn't it? If like a third of your attendance is going to be actual allocated for the fans, and the rest of it is available for anybody else that wants to get in there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll do the first bit and then I'll remember to answer that. Yeah, I'm also a bit biased because I'm a Southwest girly. Obviously don't live there anymore, but I have so many friends in Bristol. Unfortunately, it's the one weekend that I can't do, so I actually can't come, which is really annoying because I would have had free accommodation, free weekend, got to see all my friends, but no, can't do that. So
I
in
told
an
you
ideal
it planned
world,
on the wrong day.
yeah, exactly. Actually, yeah, that should have been my main point. It's my friend's birthday. um, but yeah, so I agree with Beth. Actually, like I understand the desire that like, oh, it's a cup final, and we want, obviously we would love for women's football to be in a place where it's equal to the men's. Obviously, all the men's League Cups are played. The finals are played at Wembley. I've been at League One Cup finals at Wembley that have been brilliant, but you know, we're all aware that we're not at that level. And so I do understand, because I think with something like the FA Cup, that's got that historic huge draw. And I would never diss the Subway Trophy, guys, but that maybe doesn't have that draw to neutral fans. It's not a big, well, it's a huge event. Obviously, we're thrilled to be in the final, but it doesn't have that draw of like, oh, it's the Women's FA Cup final, let's go to Wembley and make a day of it. So I understand why you wouldn't put it at somewhere like Wembley. And I do think I'm someone who really hates how London centric women's football is. It drives me nuts. Anytime any team gets promoted, I don't care who they are, just as long as they're not a London team. So the fact that I don't know if they make an effort, but I mean, when you listed all the last ones, obviously you said Selhurst Park, but a lot of those are in the Midlands, Bristol's Southwest, but it's not, it's kind of in the middle. So I don't know if it's a conscious effort to put them at kind of easily accessible areas in terms of where they are in the country, but I like that they do that because I think it is good. I love ticking off grounds. As you say, it's not somewhere we get to go often. So I'm not against it, and I do, similar to how we often, when we're debating Old Trafford versus Lee, we love Lee for all the reasons. It's the atmosphere, it's the closeness, and we prefer that because of where we're at in terms of the fans that we're going to attract. And I think the same sentiment applies to putting it at these smaller stadiums. So I'm definitely not against it. What you said about ticket allocation, that is very weird. I didn't actually realize it was that low. I think, yeah, it kind of goes back to that thing of like, it's what I said about it not having the draw of a neutral so much, because it's not something like the FA Cup. It's more the League Cup, and it's especially, I feel like where it is in the year as well, call back to your scheduling conflict issue, like because it's so early in the year, it doesn't feel like, you know, the weather, it's March, no one really wants to go, oh, let's go to a big final like you do when it's the end of the season and the sun's out and you go, let's go to Wembley as a neutral. So I feel like there's not as much of that neutral draw. So I think it is very weird to have that smaller allocation, especially when you look at the size of like that, like the fact that it's smaller than like half the capacity of Lee or whatever. That is a bit mad because we can attract 4,000 just at any standard league game. So yeah, that is quite odd, and I think that is probably a big oversight, because all it means is you're still going to get fans buying those tickets in the neutral sections. They're just all going to be mixed in, and you're not going to get that atmosphere, which is kind of, I'm kind of contradicting myself if I say that, because it's like I've just said the benefit of being at a smaller stadium is you have that atmosphere. It feels closer. You're going to have that you're really going to have the fans getting behind them. And if you have a tiny section of like fans for each team and then everyone else is spread out, you're not going to get that. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that bit for sure.
No, I can fully understand that. Becky saying it's not been publicised that much, and I think you're quite right. It probably hasn't been. And And Gareth again being very exact there. Yes, I did think it was about 3,600, but I mean, you round that up, that goes to 4,000 as well. So I'm quite content with my numbers I'm using there. But yes, 3,657, and there was absolutely the reason why I brought that up. It has not sold out, and it leads us, I suppose, really to the point that it's all well and good Chelsea women facing Manchester United women 2:15 on a Sunday, but again, this is where it blows my mind, and that I think eventually we've got to hit a point in football where we stop putting Manchester United women on at the same time as Manchester United men, who are going to be at home to Aston Villa, kicking off 15 minutes earlier, also live on Sky Sports. So what we've got now is a football match that, from Man United's point of view, is going to be completely split in terms of people that are going. Some of our fans I know are men's season ticket holders as well as women's season ticket holders. Now, I'm not being funny, in the nicest possible way. You are probably, unless you can sell your season ticket, we all know what problems you get now trying to do that for Manchester United. It's a tricky one to go to. There's only a number of games you can miss as well. So you're probably more likely going to go to the Manchester United men's game, because that one, let's face it, costs you an entire mortgage. Plus, you've also got to sell your private jet to be able to attend such places. So you've got people there that are already having to make that decision. Do I go to the men, which is really nice and close? It's a Sunday, so I'm going to be back at a decent time as well. Or am I going to travel all the way down to Bristol City for a first ever women's final in the League Cup for the women? And it's a mad thing. It's a mad thing that they've done this. And I get that things are scheduled previously, but a little bit of thought here. Somewhere they could have sat there and gone, you know what, that's going to be a wrong time to put it on. Let's move it forward. Eventually, we're going to have to try and hit that, because if the people are serious about getting growth in the women's game on TV and attendance and that sort of thing, you just simply can't have the team playing at the same time. I don't think they even do it with like the under 18s and the reserves. Even they play at a different time than the first team. So yeah, it's a little bit crazy, and I'm not a massive fan. And exactly this, it happens again. It's not just us. It goes all over the place. There will be very shortly, worry you not. Obviously, the poll is generally player of the match. And as we haven't played yet, thankfully we didn't have that. But I do have a question that will be going live imminently. But yeah, so again, it doesn't help, as I say. And exactly, men's game is a big game now against Villa, with top four being an actual an actual goal and a possibility for the club. So having put these both on, they're two massive games for Manchester United, the club, which is what most of us support. There's going to be very few people, I think, that are Manchester United women fans that are then men's fan of another team. So yeah, it seems to me a little bit, and exactly right, we could have done this, we could have had that on the Saturday or something, but there's no thought between the two. It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and it's really not sensible. So doesn't help. Soph, we're going to come back to you as well, and then Beth just jump straight in on this one. But the last thing before we can actually get into the two teams and what's going on there is that we will, of course, have VAR and goal line technology. Is that a positive or a negative for you? Because it's not used generally across the games that we see in the women's game. Are you pleased to see that there's going to be some VAR? I mean, I just saw a brilliant goal in the Asian Cup. India were playing, I think it was against the Philippines. They were losing, and a free kick hits the bar, bounces, and obviously they needed VAR because they didn't have the goal line technology. And it was a good job they did have VAR, because otherwise they wouldn't have spotted the ball go across the line, and the goal wouldn't have been given. And for India, that's the highlight of their tournament so far, because the last two games they've been battered. So for them, that was a really good thing. So yeah, so are you happy with VAR? Are you happy with goal line technology? And Beth, do you think that is a good thing for this final as well, considering it's not always used in the tournament?
I think I'm happy for it right now. I feel like if you ask me after the game, I might hate it. I feel my opinion on VAR changes anytime a decision goes my way or the other team's way. So yeah, I'm probably definitely biased. I do think it's good. I think it's good for the growth of the game. obviously it's got its drawbacks. It can be a real annoyance, but I haven't got a huge problem with it. I know some people do, and I think, yeah, that's fair enough. But also, it's like you can't really argue with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm pleased that it's going to be in the final, because to me that kind of just says, from the higher ups, effectively, like, we're taking this seriously. And I'm always appreciative of that. I like it when it's in, when we have it in the World Cup and in the major tournaments. So I'm not against it. Yeah. After I watch a game, that might change, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. It might go away.
Sorry, I was half asleep then. I couldn't get it to go. Going straight back to how you said it as well, Barry, I wanted to respond and say, can I answer your question next week instead of today? Which is pretty much what Zoe said anyway. We might change our mind when it comes to what happens within the game. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers when I say this, but I'm going to say currently I'm quite happy with it, because in the past there's been quite a few times that how do I put this without offending people? I've thought Chelsea have almost got it. The referee's gone Chelsea's way, shall we say. Now, I will say with that, it is usually where they've either not scored and it's 0-0, or they've gone, they've gone a goal down, and they're really good at pushing forward. And I get why these things kind of go their way then, because they've almost pressed that a bit more. However, sorry, I'm just laughing at the comments. However, I do think it's good. It almost, like, I sometimes struggle, and I think this is quite fair, that when you're at a game, you can't see what's going on. Like, you cannot be the goal line technology. You cannot be the VAR. And I will be sat there with my dad and I'll go, oh, that's offside. And my dad will go, no, it wasn't. So it is that, like, we all have these debates. And obviously with social media now, it's really easy for someone to take a screenshot off a camera on Sky and go, yeah, it was offside. But it's sometimes that play, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm going to say currently I'm kind of happy with it. I also think it, like, maybe people disagree with this, but I almost think it makes a final more exciting, or a game more exciting. Obviously, in this case, a final, because you can kind of, like, you kind of don't know what you're getting, especially if you are there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just keep laughing at the comments, so if I keep pausing, I know I was, like, not the most diplomatic, which I usually am, but yeah, that's me done.
I'll be honest, I like this version of you, Beth. It's all good. Don't you worry about that. Listen, I think it's going to be great fun, and I think it is quite interesting having it in there. I agree with you. I hear a lot of people say, I don't like VAR, it's no fun, it sucks the atmosphere. I think it just changes the atmosphere. You can still cheer, then you see VAR is going to check it, so now you have nervous moments, a little bit X Factor-esque, or who's he going to pick? So you have all of that, then the decision's there, and then you can choose whether or not you cheer or not. So I'm not convinced. It's just different, and people don't necessarily like different. Yes, of course, this was a travesty of justice, but she probably was offside, if we're being honest. And that is literally the purpose of the technology. But yes, I do agree that was an incredibly frustrating moment for us as well. Right, let's start looking at some of the players. Now, obviously, big news for Chelsea, so we'll start off with them. Obviously, no Eddie Carpenter, no Sam Kerr. They are going to still be with Australia. No Billy Bright, it has been revealed today. No Myra Ramirez either. Definitely no Guru Ryton, because she's currently on a plane on the way to Gotham. So, not obviously Gotham as in Batman time, New York, to play for Gotham FC. I haven't gone completely mad. And of course, there is the possibility that Natalie Bjorn and Buchanan will be available as well. Thinking about some of those things, the fact that the league game that we just had, not the league game, the FA Cup game that we just had, Sam Kerr was a thorn in our side once again. just for that, we've surely got to sit there and go, well, at least there must be a chance in this game somewhere, because at least we know whatever happens, it's not going to be, oh, Sam Kerr's scored again, as she so much likes to do. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about how you feel about the Chelsea side. Is there anybody that worries you? Do you think we will have the opportunity to win this one based on the team they put out, or not? Because Beth, Chelsea have not been at their best, as we well know, but it's still Chelsea.
Yeah, I think something they struggled with this season that I've not seen in a very long time is the consistency. And obviously you are going to get that when I'm going to still say a new manager, because obviously last season, again, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but like, because Bompastor already had this team built up, I think she made it work with what she had, where this season she tried to play with it a little bit more and maybe it's not gone her way. So there's not been like a consistent starting 11, which is also a good thing at the same time for them. But I think I don't want to say backfired for them, but like it's just not quite gone the way they expected it to. I think the players that are out or can't play or have gone elsewhere, like Brighton, is a huge loss. I will say all those names are a huge loss for them. I think going forward, obviously, when Kerr came back for them, it was almost like a godsend, because they were struggling a little bit in that position. Sorry, I lost my voice then. And I think like where Aggie Beaver-Jones hasn't been played as much, I really rate her as a player. I think she's brilliant, but because she's not been playing as much, she's lost that like almost star quality she had, that consistency again. Sorry to say that word yet again. And I'm not saying she'll start with her or anything, but I would expect her to come on at some point with the likes of Kirby at the Asia Cup. So, yeah, I think it's hard to say, because I feel like the last, say, 6 months when Chelsea have played, the teams Bompastor's put out, or, that she's then made changes for, I've kind of been a bit, sometimes just a bit thrown by, and I think Chelsea fans will agree with that, even from Twitter, like what I'm reading on Twitter, I'm seeing that. So I just think that they are struggling a little bit with communication as well. You are putting new players and almost like a new squad together. You're not going to have that natural connection that you would have when you have been playing together for years, which a lot of the Chelsea players have been. It is like a new time for them, and it's almost like another form of transition period for them. And this will really show where they're at. It sounds daft to say this will show where they're at now after they've been winning everything, but it does feel like a very different time. I think this is probably the closest we will get to them. We should be able to do it, to be honest, with the likes that are out. And I know a few people are saying, look, we haven't got Miyazawa, but obviously they've also not got Carpenter. And I would say that Carpenter's been their star player this season. I don't think that's an argument. I genuinely think she's been one of the strongest in the WSL, regardless of Chelsea's performances. She really has. So I do think they'll miss her. And again, that like strength she has and that almost like leadership she has. Now I know that it's looking like Bronze will be back anyway. Well, she was playing for the Lionesses. So yeah, obviously Bronze will be back and she's got that. But I do think this is as close as we can get to them, and we should be able to just get it over the line. Because yeah, it's just something's not clicking with them, and that's only a positive for us.
I think so. So for you, pretty much the same sort of question. I mean, I put it pretty much in the title. Will it be first time lucky for United, or will it be the Chelsea curse? We heard a lot, and I know that Couture is going to come back and really go, no, I really do believe it, Barry. I'm really not trying to play with you this time. But the last time United played Chelsea, they were convinced, well, that's it. We're going to lose. It's going to be the worst time possible to be a Chelsea fan. Everything's going to hell in a handcart. And it didn't. And they managed to win the game, which was really frustrating. And it was in a horrible situation. We managed to put it back to 1-1, go into extra time, and disappointing defeat. It really was. It feels fair to say that United have been better against Chelsea this season than in previous years, and it's certainly tighter than it has been over previous years. But when you see these names that are being withdrawn from the Chelsea side and people that we're not going to see, does that give you like an extra shot in the arm, or are you still quite nervous based on the players that we know that Chelsea have got, including the likes of Lauren James?
Yeah, I think it's tough because I mean I can't lie. I've been so focused on Hinnie leaving us that I've completely forgotten that Carpenter and Kerr would also be gone. So like you reading those out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's brilliant. Like, you know, you hear a list of these big name players who are very, very good and would put in a lot of competition for us. And you think, oh, that's brilliant. But then you think about who Chelsea still have. I mean, James is on fire at the moment. Thompson is on fire at the moment. Berman seems to have come out of nowhere and then suddenly she's incredible. She really shut down, was it Park she was playing against when we played us? But yeah, so it's like you look at the quality that's in their team regardless, and I don't feel confident, but I also don't feel I'm not like panicking. I think it's just I think what Beth said kind of put it perfectly in that Chelsea are so unpredictable at the moment. They've been for so long this super consistent team. It was kind of, I feel a lot of the time we went into games where maybe we could have done a lot better, but we just had it in us that Chelsea are going to win everything. And so for the longest time, they occupied this almost like godlike state in the WSL. And I think that has just been knocked away and they are now just a team. Yeah, I think, you know, in the first half of the season, you couldn't call it because God knows what they were doing, but some of those results were mad. And some of even just the way they were playing, exactly what Beth said, like it's just odd because they're so unpredictable and it is a very new, fresh team. And it's not the same Chelsea that we've seen before. That's not to say they don't have the quality we've seen before, because they absolutely do, but it is just different. And so I think now, obviously, we've seen some great results from them in recent weeks, but we've also seen that same like holes and gaps where they're not doing what we, you know, as well as we thought they would do. You know, for them to lose, what was it, 5-1 to City, that's absolutely insane. So I think they are just so unpredictable that I really, really can't call it. I truly think that we have the quality to go up against them. I think we're going to be missing key players. They're going to be missing key players. I really, really think that this is just one of those games that is going to purely hang in the balance of who turns up on the day. I think if we go in there with fight and we hold it together and we control the pitch and the ball as much as we can, I think we'll be absolutely fine. But I also think on the flip side of that, we could completely bomb if we don't go in with that right mentality and that right fight. So yeah, I don't think it's a game where you can focus on individual factors or individual players. I think it's just going to come down to like the team as a whole, to be honest.
Seems reasonable. And we do indeed, of course, have two teams in this final. We've spoken a little bit about Chelsea. Now let's move it over to United. And obviously, some clear ones we know that aren't going to be there. We know there's going to be no Hinnie. She is still out with Japan in the Asian Cup. Obviously, there's no Celine Bizzett because she's still in the middle of producing a baby, which is lovely. But we also haven't had an update on some players. We know that Frido will be back because she played for Sweden over the international break. So it would be an absolute gobsmacker if she was not available for this match. What we're not sure on is the status of some people that have been questionable and missed games beforehand. Now, obviously, we know that Anna Sandberg will definitely not be one of those players that is back because the timeline that we were given for her does not include March. We would be expecting her at the earliest, I think, in April. So as a result, she's not going to be there. So we don't need Mark Skinner to tell us too much on that one. But Ella Toon, we can already see some people in the chat. Some thinking maybe she might be around, others saying it may not be till City. Jade Riviere, of course, we'd love to know how she's getting on. I mean, this is it, going to be a key one this weekend. Will she be available or not? Will we have to play Hannah Lundqvist instead? And of course, Leah Goldson. I was saying this backstage before we started. I feel like she's been injured all season. I don't feel like I've seen Leah Goulton anywhere near as much as I'm used to seeing Leah Goulton, and not just a case of on the pitch, because you can understand if you get Fridolina Rolfer playing, you can understand why Leah Goulton may not be there, but she's not been named on the bench either. So it's like not been there, Leah Goulton. So we've got those, and that will obviously be a big thing for us to look at. And of course, we've got players who have done incredibly well in their previous games for their countries. We of course know, and although she's not going to be available for us, but I want to shout it out because we should do, Mary Griffiths scoring a couple of goals for Wales, which surely we can't let Mary Griffiths just go, because this is someone who is clearly performing in the international stage as well as domestically. So there we go. Saf obviously played as well. Obviously we're not expecting Saf to be playing in this final, but again, good news for her 8th cap. So she is obviously getting a bit more experience. We know that Leah Schuller was playing, Lisa Nielsen, Elizabeth Turland has just come back as well. Jess Park had a really good international window. And of course, prior to that, she won the Man United Player of the Month and the WSL Goal of the Month for her goal against London City Lionesses, which was just pucker. So that was great. Hannah Lundqvist, of course, has been off. Frido, as we just mentioned. Orange and Passion Fruit, of course, has been also taking part in international endeavours. Melvin Mallard, Dominic Janssen, and of course, Simia Wujo. So lots of players there. And again, this is it. Just read my notes. That's very annoying. Fallon Tullis-Joyce also having played for America, and great news for her because she won the She Believes Cup. Now, it's only 3 games played, obviously, in a mini round-robin tournament, but they won all 3 games. She played 2 of them for, I think, the 4 game and didn't concede a goal. So, I keep on getting stick for this, but I think we've got the best goalkeeper in the league. I really, really do. And I know we're on a Man United channel, so people who say, well, of course you're going to say that, Barry, you're a Man United fan. It's obviously what you're all about. But just, like, Hannah Hampton's brilliant, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm sitting there and going, yeah, she won the Euros and she's rubbish. She's not. But I don't know. I think if you were offering me it, yes, and I knew you were going to say it, and I'm not fishing. I'm not fishing at all. I'm really not. But I think, honestly, you line them up. I think, I don't know, I just feel like Fallon's going like that, and Hannah's she's at her peak. I think Fallon's still got more to give. Oh, she's clear. So now, because she was finally been activated, he's getting ready to fight. There's going to be glasses thrown across and all sorts happening. But, well, yes, I will give you that. Currently, distribution for Fallon does require a little bit of work, but I seem to recall having seen Hannah have a couple of awful moments before. So, listen, I think it's going to be great, but I'm going to shut up now because you guys need to talk, and we'll kick off with you on this one. Soph, what do you think about the United team? How do you think we're going to set up? The big change is no Hinny. If there's no Hinny, that changes our midfield 3, which has been so successful this season. So you're going to now, and I apologise if they give you nightmares, you're now going to be Mark Skinner. Tell me, how are you setting up? Is Dom going to be in the centre back position? Is she going to left back? Because, we may not necessarily have someone to go there. Where are you putting players? What it would be your ideal starting 11 for United against Chelsea?
Yeah, I think for me, the big one that it hinges on is whether Jade can play. To be honest, I think even if she is fit, we won't see her for the whole game, maybe the second half. But I don't even know if she's there yet, to be honest. I don't have a clue. So that is the big one for me. I think I definitely would want, I think I would still go Dom in the centre. I think if we're going to be messing about with fullbacks again, I said this recently on the show, but changing one of your back 4 is fine because the other 3 have that rapport. They can cover for each other. Changing 2 is kind of probably where we're at the moment. And that's a little bit more risky, but you still have, if we've got both of our fullbacks out, this is assuming Jade can't play, assuming we've got both of those fullbacks needing filling, You've still got those middle two. You still got Dom and Maya in the middle, kind of controlling things, keeping it calm, keeping it the same, and also kind of providing that support, that like reliance for the midfield three and whoever else is going forward. So I think I would keep Dom at centre back, purely just to keep the consistency in the back line, because if we're changing, like there's definitely an argument that she would be better on the left, and I've said this so many times, I prefer Gabby in the middle than I do on the left, but at the same time I would rather keep that consistency in the middle and put Gabby on the left than mix everything up completely just to try and fit people. You know, I'd rather have one person out of position than two people, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's probably what I would do. I'm trying to think if I don't really think we'll have another option if I'm probably forgetting something really, like a really important player. Yeah, assuming Jade is still out, and Hannah I'm happy to see in the, yeah, exactly that. Like Lundqvist, I'm really, really pleased with her signing. I think she's just been brilliant so far, and I'm really excited to see her develop. So I'm kind of okay with Jade not being there, but if Hannah's there, but then yeah, it's the left side that worries me, and I worry that if our right side is already maybe a little bit, you know, funky, I don't want to be messing about too much with that, but we don't really have a choice because we know Sandberg won't be playing. So I think I'd probably just, yeah, it's annoying, but I think that's kind of what you have to do. In terms of the midfield, Hinnie's the main loss. We know this. We've been talking about it for months, going, when's Hinnie going away? Because we're going to be awful when she goes away. I think there's going to be a lot of responsibility on Julia, J2O, Orange and Passion Fruit, whatever you want to call her. There's going to be so much responsibility on her to control the midfield. She's going to have to be that kind of stalwart midfielder, absolute engine room. And I think a lot of the game is going to hinge on her having a good game, to kind of not replace Hinnie, because obviously she'd play anyway, but to cover both her position and Hinnie's. To be honest, I would like to see, this might be controversial, I want to see Simi as a Hinnie replacement. Maybe that's insane. It's not even really her main position, but to be honest, that's what I would do because I rate her. I think no one is going to agree with me on that, but I kind of don't care. That's what I would do. Yeah, I think I can't even remember what the rest of, I feel like I've been talking for ages and I've only gone halfway through the lineup. So I'm going to stop and Beth can take over because I've been chatting just so much.
I feel like I'm about to just come here and be really boring because everything you've said, you've probably seen me nodding along going, that's what I would have said, that's what I would have done, even with Simi.
This is the thing, like, we don't have the lineup to be getting crazy. We know what's happening.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, everything you said is exactly what I would have. That's where my brain's at the minute as well. I think bringing Simi in that position, yes, it might not necessarily be her most comfortable, but like you said, I rate her as a player. I think she's fantastic, and she's really showing what she's going to build up to be as a player as well. I find it really exciting whenever she comes on, like without bringing up the dreaded loss we had to City earlier in the season. Yes, she had to go off because she was injured, but she brought a bit more of that a bit more star quality that we needed in that moment. So yeah, I really do rate her in that team, in that position. I think that, yeah, I guess it's one of those that because we've got these almost like, I was going to say unsureties. That's not a word. I'm sorry. My brain's not braining right now. I can't even speak. I honestly, this week, I've been here, there, and everywhere, and I can't even remember what day it is most of the time. So sorry for forgetting my words. So yeah, but I just think that without knowing where these injuries are lying at the minute, it's really hard to almost pick a team ourselves. You know, who knows where Toon's up to? Like, all we knew from what I can gather is that it was a bit of a hip injury. I'm going to be honest, I've also got a hip injury, so I feel like I am Toon. My dad keeps joking because he's like, oh, you think you're Toon? And I'm like, yeah, because like I've been injured now for like 6 months, and I can tell you, even I'm annoyed about it. So yeah, I get it. But yeah, I think we've just got to roll with the punches, I guess, with this one. But going back before, Barry, when you were saying about obviously Tullis Joyce and how brilliant she's been, I agree with everything you were saying about her being top of the WSL. We've even spoken in the past, like me and my dad both spoken in the past about how genuinely she's got to be one of, or probably will become, the best in the world. I'm putting it out there. I think the difference between her and Hampton, yes, obviously it's the footwork's just not quite there with Fallon, but she's becoming, and I'm sure I said this a few weeks ago, she's becoming a bit more vocal, which I always love in a keeper, because you need that strength and that leadership from a keeper. Now, Hampton is still quite young. I can't remember how old she is off the top of my head, but she is quite young still for a keeper. So like she still probably has that to build up in her. But I think the difference between our defence and their defence is that we have that, I know I keep saying communication, but it is that, especially with your defence and your keeper. There seems to be a bit of a breakdown, and I'm not trying to fish through what's being said on social media, but there seems to be a breakdown in Chelsea and them working together on like in the back line. Where with us, we've had issues more injury based, but we seem to still stick together, and I think that's a big difference. And obviously, if you feel like the players in front of you don't have the confidence in you, it's going to knock you more. And I do wonder if, because Fallon's got that, that's why she's feeling like, yeah, I can do this, and maybe Hampton isn't getting that from her team, so she doesn't feel that, which is fair enough. So yeah, okay, I was right. Yeah, she's 25. Okay, I couldn't remember. But yeah, I think those are the two. In my opinion, those are the two key differences in the teams. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Listen, about this goalkeeper thing, I'm going to throw it back out there again. There's a lot of toing and throwing going on. We've got somebody claiming to be unbiased while I was coming out with some really quite biased things. And I'm just going to throw you under the bus here. I'm sorry. But she'd have been that good. She'd have been guaranteed starting spot. Can we just be clear that Hannah Hampton has zero competition to be starting as England's number one, whereas Fallon does. You know, there are some good American goalkeepers out there at the moment. Hannah Hampton is clear of every single English goalkeeper, and I would include Mary Earps, even if she hadn't retired, on that one at the moment. So, you know, it's very easy to look at international appearances and say, well, this is why. I don't think this is the case. I think, you know, Hannah is, as we just said, 25. Fallon's 29. Fallon's reaching peak age for a goalkeeper where you've had that level of experience. There may well be another level for Hannah Hampton. And as an Englishman, I'd be delighted to see it, because that can only be a good thing for us when it comes to World Cups and such like. So I'd be absolutely delighted with that. If she could not do that this weekend, I'd be absolutely delighted. Just leave it a little while. That would be superb. But beyond that, all I'm saying is that Fallon is just getting better and better in terms of being chosen to play for America. You're just seeing more and more progression within what she's doing. Hannah Hampton's a European champion. Like, she's been there. There's not much more you can do other than go and win the Worlds. We go and win the World Cup now. Not even Ellie Roebuck. I don't think she's at that level. You've got Hannah Hampton, and then like your likes of Ellie Roebuck, Kiara Keatons, these sort of people that, you know, could potentially get there, but they're not showing the same level as Hannah Hampton is. And then beyond that, you've got like the rest of the English keepers that nobody really talks about. And I think, you know, when you start looking at America, you know, they've got a couple there that they're really working with. And I think, you know, if we're being genuinely serious about it, it's tight. I'm not sitting there and saying, oh my God, Fallon's so much better than Hannah Hampton. Like, my God, she's the most useless thing we've ever seen. No, it's tight. I'm just saying I think Fallon's just starting to edge it a little bit. And that's just my opinion. And again, like, I'm quite good. I think most people will tell you I'm quite good at being able to take the the actual bias out of me, that these are actual glasses, as you can see, that they're not rose tinted in any way, shape, form, or fashion. If I didn't believe it, I genuinely wouldn't say it. So there we go. I've been thinking about my team for this one as well. I still think it's going to be Fallon. I would hope it's Jade, but if Jade's not about, I've got no problems with Hannah being there at all. Obviously, you would then have perhaps Maya. I'd still go Maya and Millie. I've had no problems with Millie since she's come back, so I'd be quite content with that. And then obviously Dom at left back, I think, is where I would put her. Part of me, in my heart, wants her to be that defensive midfielder, just because it gives you like that extra. It's just like going out with a scarf. You know, you're going to be a little bit warmer ultimately, but I think you could probably do without it if you just put the collar up, so you'll be fine. So we can put Dominic in left back. I really struggle with that other midfield position, because I think I'd be going Mel on the right, Frida on the left. You're going to go with Her Majesty at the top, but then you've got Leah Schiller, who could potentially be coming on as well, which is a great thing. I would be putting Jess Park in the 10, just because I keep on banging that drum that I think she's got the potential to have more of a free role. I think you stick her on the right, people are expecting her to be on the right, but you stick her in the middle, she could pop up on the left, she could pop on the right, she could pop back and help the ones that, that it's just built for Jess. Just put her there, run where you want. And I think if she gets that, there's a real chance. Do you put Lisa? Do you put Simi? I think it's going to be one of those two. But who? I even toyed with the idea of sticking Jess Park a bit further back for that very same reason, that she could just run off and go where she wants to. But I soon discounted that, because I feel we lose more than we gain on that one. So personally, I think I would probably go Lisa Nolson, which might blow a few minds. Certainly Charlie's going to be absolutely gobsmacked with that's just been said, but she's probably not watching, so all is well on that one. If my phone starts blowing up, I'll let you know. So there we go. That's where we stand on that one. If you haven't already, make sure you do. On our little poll, as you can see, there is the option to choose who you think is going to win the Subway League Cup final this Sunday. There are three options: Manchester United, Chelsea, and football. So who will be the winner at the end of the day on Sunday? Right, we've got through the vast majority of these sorts of things. I suppose the last thing to ask before we can get into our score predictions would be just to talk a little bit about, obviously, the call it a rivalry, the head-to-heads. Chelsea are a side that we have genuinely struggled against in the past. As I say, this season feels a lot closer than it has done for a variety of reasons. Beth, you can go first on this one. In general, when you look at this game, now that we've looked at all of the things, we've looked at where we're going, the fact there's VAR, the fact that it's after the international break, we've taken on board everything that's there. In your heart of hearts, when you start looking at this game, what do you think? Not the score, obviously, but you're confident, you're not confident. Where are you sort of standing on this?
I really want to say we can throw it at them, and we should be able to. I think the problem we've got is the fact that obviously we have had this break, so it's hard to know in that case. But putting that aside, almost leaving that behind, I'm going to say I think we can do it. I think we can throw it at them, knowing the players they're missing at the minute, especially. I think we've got a very, in strength itself, we've got a very strong team. And I really do think we just need to almost scrap the mentality we've had in the past. I think we're kind of starting to do that, like you said, anyway. I do feel like we're just starting to forget, how do I put this? The scaries of a big moment, a big occasion, if that makes sense. I think we need to sometimes just think, we're just playing a game of football. And I know it's a lot deeper than that, but I think sometimes if we go in with that mentality, especially against a team like Chelsea, that's where we then play our best. I really do think we could come out this quite positively. And I just think that trying to not upset people again, but I feel like at the minute it's easier to rattle Chelsea. And I think we can be a team to do that quite easily. And almost maybe that's what we need to do. We need to almost be a bit cheeky with it, which I think we're capable of being. And when obviously it's hard to know, as we've discussed earlier, we don't know really like fans wise what the makeup is going to be, especially because a lot will have had to go into the neutral stands as well, so you don't really know if you're going to get more Chelsea or more United fans. I will say United fans are louder. I feel like I'm just trying to cause problems at this point, but usually we are louder. That also brings that energy, brings that boost to your team. And I think if we go out on the front foot and just give everything we can, also the fans will be behind them. We all know that if your team's losing, the fans start to just dwindle in sound. And if we can then lift that way, that'll really help. And I know obviously many players, Skinner, everyone has always said thank you for how much the fans do bring to it. So I think if we play with that as well, and I don't want to be like, oh, just enjoy it, guys. But I think when we do just play football that we enjoy, that's when we then get the best out of our players. So yeah, I honestly think that it could be quite a positive game in that way.
Indeed. I've done my level best to ignore some of the comments that I see, but I'm going to ask the question because the whole purpose of the channel is people are heard, and that is literally the whole ethos that we are built on. This chap here, he has mentioned Mark Skinner on numerous occasions. Now, I'm going to throw it to you. So, but same sort of questions I asked Beth, but do you see it as being as important as this for Mark Skinner? Now, bearing in mind, when you start looking at Manchester United managers, whether people like it or not, Mark Skinner is the most successful Manchester United manager. Granted, it's a very small time period within which to do that. It's not like we're looking at a really long and illustrious history in terms of that, but he is, he's the only manager to have actually won the FA Cup, obviously 2 years ago. He's got us into the Champions League quarterfinals, if you don't mind. I say he as if he did all of the kicking. You know exactly what I mean. He's guided us there, not he went off and scored a header in the last minute sort of thing. So he's got us there. We've done all of that. Do you see this as being this important? When you bear in mind that we've got potential top three that we need to be trying to get to, and obviously an opportunity to do the unthinkable in Europe, and I say we've got the opportunity to do the unthinkable purely because we're still in it. I think with the greatest of respect, even for Chelsea fans, nobody was really expecting Arsenal to go on a mad one and win the Champions League last year, and they did. So if you're in it, you've got a chance to win it. Would you agree with this? Do you think it is a must-win sort of match for United in this sort of situation?
I'm going to be honest. For Skinner, no, I don't think he has to win it to stay. I think we've seen. I've been vocal about what I think of him, and in previous seasons, definitely I've been really on that, just absolutely gunning for him bandwagon. And I'm still, I've still got thoughts about it. Don't get me wrong, but I think if you look at our past seasons where we've not had great seasons at all, and we've not had good results, we've not reached milestones that we should have really been reaching, the fact that he stayed through that, on paper, irregardless of the League Cup, but if you look at our season on paper, it's been a successful season, I would say. I know that the title is, the title's all but gone, and we're still in the battle for even Champions League places, which isn't ideal. But I feel like, watching as a fan, the football that I've been seeing this season, it's it's good. I think we've had a good season. It's been a good season to be a United fan. And so I think in terms of Skinner keeping his job, I don't think if we do lose on Sunday that he's going to get fired. I don't think that'll happen at all. I think he'll be here for a while, whether or not you like it. I've got my own thoughts about that. But yeah, in terms of United, obviously we should win it, I hope. like, don't get me wrong by saying all of that. That doesn't mean that I think we should just go into it. You know, I'm not basing my opinions on the game on whether or not Skinner's keeping his job, because quite frankly, I don't care. But yeah, I think going back to like the original question, I think Chelsea has been put on a pedestal for so long. And I think in a lot of games we could have done better, and we struggled because of this idea of Chelsea that we've built up in our heads. You can see it sometimes in the way that we wouldn't bring a certain fight that we'd have against other teams against Chelsea. And then obviously the time that we did beat them was the time that we went in there all guns blazing. So yeah, I think in terms of quality, in terms of head to head, like stats wise, I can't predict it. I don't know. I do just think that basically Chelsea have, yeah, they've been on a pedestal for so long. That illusion has now shattered. They are completely brought down to earth. They are any other team. And I see absolutely no reason why we couldn't go out there and completely take it. But I do just think it's going to depend on how cohesive we are as a team on the day. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, we'll win it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot being said there in total. Let's just take a quick look at this festival. Hello, Emily. Lovely to see you. Been a while since we've seen you in United chat. I'm feeling pretty dandy, actually, about Sunday. It's quite nice to be in a cup final. Am I excited about a potential Subway Cup lift? Absolutely. Listen, I would love to win it. This isn't like the League Cup that you have in the men's game. This is something we've never won before. So I think winning a trophy that you have never won before, it's only been won by 3 teams: Arsenal, City, and Chelsea. So, you know, I think to do that, to make history, to become only the fourth side to have actually won it would be absolutely amazing. So 100% really looking forward to it. And, you know, fingers crossed we come home with the title. Chelm is saying, and I think I have to agree with this, people hate Skinner, but they don't see how much he's evolved your team. I think for better or worse, whether people like it or not, you look at the teams we were churning out 3-4 years ago, and you look at the team we're churning out now, I don't think you can disagree with that. But this is a question. This is a show all by itself, this question. But I have to ask it, because now that I've seen it, it's like, wow. Like, and because it comes from a Chelsea fan, it feels like a reasonable question to ask. But is Mark Skinner a United legend? When you actually sit and think about it, like, the guy has led us to our only major silverware. So technically, if you're going in there and you talk about the OGs that we've had, and, you know, the likes of Elatoon obviously being one, I mean, technically, in 10 years' time, when we look back and, you know, we're potentially out of the reign of Mark Skinner and we've got ourselves a new manager and things have changed, do we look back more fondly at Mark Skinner and his legacy? So I'm going to throw it open to you. Don't care who answers this. Well, I do. I want you both to answer, but I mean, I don't care who answers first on this. Is Mark Skinner a United legend?
I don't know why I'm saying I'll go first, because this feels like a dangerous question. But and this sounds stupid, but it depends what you constitute as a United legend. If you think of United legends of the past, now I'm looking more to the men's side when I say this, and the way I see it is almost like the history makers. He has done that. Whether you like him or not, he has done that. Now, whether it was down to him is another question. Yeah, exactly. I think this is part of it. So this season has had a very different background stuff behind it. Now, is that the reason that things have started to solidify a bit more and we've managed to get better signings? I'm going to say yes. We did have, obviously, the moment, as I'm going to call it, for the few weeks where Fallon was out. But yeah, I think he maybe... Now, sorry, I'm trying to speak faster than I'm thinking right now, so that's why I sound like this. But maybe he did the I was going to say UEFA a license, but he's done more since, hasn't he, and in the past season, which I think really helps. But I think that he's managed to almost like get a grip behind the backroom staff more as well, which is what you want as well. And you know, the players we're getting in are going to be players that he wants, where I feel like in the past he's maybe gone, oh, who should we get? And I think that's the difference. I'm going to say, ask me this question in a year and we'll see how I feel. Because right now, like you said, United legends, you are looking at the likes of Toon, of, you know, these players that came around at the first hurdle, shall I say, in a way. A United legend. Are you then saying Casey Stoney was like, God, I can't speak, was a United legend? You know, it really depends on what you would almost put the credentials down for being one. But to me, a United legend is almost just like a history maker, and that he has done.
So, I can tell this is your favourite question in so far. 100%, 195%. Katie Zellum is the first Hall of Fame list, as far as I'm concerned. So,
yeah, I have thoughts. No, quite frankly, he's not. I think a legend status is like, you have to be larger than life. You have to have done incredible things. He's not a legend. That's an insane thing to suggest. I'll absolutely concede. Is he a really important part in United history? Yeah, absolutely. He will be in the United history books, no matter how you feel about him. Even, you know, he's really important in kind of the history of this team. He will be a player in, you know, 10, 15 years. Will be sat around at the Ren or whatever going, oh, do you remember Mark Skinner? Like, you know, he will occupy a space in the history books of this team. Don't get me wrong, absolutely. But, you know, and yeah, you know, you could argue, is a legend someone who has a legacy? Maybe. He's definitely going to have a legacy because, as Beth said, he has really built this team from, you know, the leaps we've come in the last 5-6 years are huge. So absolutely, he will leave a bit of a legacy. Is he a legend? Definitely not, just because he's just not. A legend is based off your vibes, and he's not. I'm not getting those vibes. I think, yeah. I feel like I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah,
no.
all I'm going to say to this as well is that, and I'm not just saying this because it's United Chelsea, but when you think of a manager who has been a legend of their team, there is only one name that comes to mind, and that's Emma Hayes. There is no one. I don't think there's anyone else you can say across the world, not even the WSL, that has that legend status. We all know it's Emma Hayes. There is no one else, and I don't think there's any other debate than if you're going to say is a manager a legend? Yeah, and there's only one.
I feel like I've got to jump in now. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. This question is done. So we can go on for another 3 hours. Strap in, folks. Here we go. It's been completely derailed. I mean, we'd all agree Alatoon's a United legend, yeah? So
yeah.
what?
I think
What's
to be
the difference between Sooney and Skinner? Apart from the championship, obviously, what else could there be?
I think to be a legend, you have to have a part in like the culture of the team rather than just like the stats of what you've achieved. Like there are obviously loads of managers who have done great things, who have won loads of trophies with certain teams. But when you think, obviously using Emma Hayes as an example, she's someone who like, you think of that, it's crazy I'm going to say era of Chelsea, and it's crazy because it ended last year. But that is a different era of Chelsea, right? So you think of that, and the first thing you think is Emma Hayes. And the same for, if you think about United, I would say that the legends that we have in the team currently are Tooney, Millie Turner, I would say is a bit of a United legend, Katie Zellum, like that OG lot. You think of that era of United, and you think of them at kind of the center of that team culture. And I think that's a large part of, like, a legend isn't just what you've done on paper. To be a team legend, like, you have to, when you think about like Sir Alex Ferguson, like that was his culture. It was this kind of like whole like mythos that surrounded him, right? Skinner doesn't have that. He doesn't have that like gravitas that a legend has.
I think it's building from the ground up, which sorry. Yeah, I think it's building from the ground up, which he would have never had to have done. Because yes, he has really, we've changed as a team, as a brand, as everything, but he never had to build us from the ground up. Now, I'm not saying that Stoney is one for that reason, but what I'm trying to say is where you're then saying the likes of Sir Alex and the likes of Emma Hayes, who really did, let's be honest, build Chelsea from the ground up. Those are the teams that, are sorry, not the teams. Those are the managers that you would then, or the players within that kind of era, as we're now saying, that have that legendary status and always will. I think to become a legend, you can't lose the legendary status, if that makes sense. It's having a legacy, and I think those players have that. And you can't lose a legacy. Well, okay, maybe someone has, but usually you can't lose a legacy. And yeah, I think that's what then makes you a legend.
This is just a rocket of a question, this one. It really is. I'm going to blow your mind. Go on.
I think we found you like a new show idea. You just need to get a whole panel of people on purely to discuss what a legend is. That's like our content, mate.
We might have to retire the "how do you eat your burger" question and just sort of throw this one instead, because clearly it is a divisive question, as it would be. I was going to take a brief moment just to say, just have a little side conversation with having. It has been a long time. I'm glad that you are back. And yes, it was lovely to see that you'll actually be pleased if we win it, Emily. That's amazing, because usually you're upsetting me with your Liverpool vibes and shouting at me like that. So that's brilliant. This is an interesting one, and I'm going to throw something at you now. So Skinner's a legend. What did he do? What's he won till now? I mean, the FA Cup is literally the only trophy that we've actually won that isn't a league title of a league that we were always likely to win. You start comparing him to legends like Sir Alex and Matt Busby. Obviously not. Most unlikely is he's good at showing or throwing changes. Now, here's my point, right? We are, I think, the minute you use the word legend at Manchester United, we are absolutely inundated on the men's side with a ridiculous number of legends. You could say that and there would be arguments for so many different players. Bobby Charlton, you would throw in Dennis Law, George Best, Eric Cantona. You've got so many that you can sit there and go with. Duncan Edwards, Alex Stepney. You start hitting names and it's just everywhere. You've got Ferguson, you've got Busby. You've got so many. And as a result, I think it clouds our thinking. Because if you take the men's side away, forget the men's side. We're talking about a women's side here that was made in 2018. We can't go back any further than that. Nobody. Of course, can we just take a moment to go? Of course, nobody is suggesting that Mark Skinner is anywhere close to the legendary status of the likes of Matt Busby and Alex Ferguson. Anybody who thinks that needs to take a trip to their local A&E because they clearly had a bump to the head, right? That's mad. Nobody's suggesting that. But we are talking about in the terms of the women's game, in terms of Manchester United as they are. And the simple fact is, when you start looking at the people we've got, really the only difference between Ella Toone, as I said, and Mark Skinner is the fact that one, she was here since 2018. That's not Mark Skinner's fault. Number two is that she's won a trophy, having won that first season. But do you know what? I mean, Martha Harris won that as well. Are we going to start calling her a legend because she won that? Probably not. Is she a cult hero? Absolutely. So you've got 1,000,001 different things you could look at. Now, I agree with you. You all just said it. Emma Hayes, first one you think of with Chelsea. Well, of course, because she's won an absolutely truckload of trophies and titles and all sorts. Of course, that's going to be the one that you think about. But these are people, these are teams that have got this ridiculously long history. I think at this moment in time, and this is not something I ever thought I was going to be saying, and nor did I think I would be saying it at the start of this show. So, Couture Criminal, this is why you've got criminal in your name, because you've absolutely stolen this from me. But I think he is. I think in the history of 2018 to 2026, you can't argue it. Now, in 2036, if we've got ourselves a brand new manager and that manager's gone on to win a title, let's say we haven't won a title even up to that point and they've won a title, you're going to look at that person as being way better than Mark Skinner. Of course you are, because you're going to start measuring those things. But the simple fact is, and we can just go by a nod of the head here, Mark Skinner or Casey Stoney, we're going to go Mark Skinner, right? In terms of the way that they've been successful. I don't think for 1 second we can say that he's not, in terms of what he's given us so far. 3 FA Cup finals on the banks. That's unthinkable for Manchester United a few years before. That was not something we was doing. We were nowhere near it. So I think I think if you're going to sit there and say, yeah, Elatun is a legend, at the moment, so is he. But it changes. I am 99% sure, and it will take me a while to think about this, but I will give you a player. Billy Meredith used to play for Manchester United. And at the time, he was probably a legend immediately amongst all of his peers because he scored goals and helped Manchester United to win the title for the first time. But people don't think of him too much in the names because you've got your likes of Bobby Charlton. You've got your likes of Wayne Rooney. Legends will come and go. They will grow. Some will become icons and such like. I actually think at the moment we don't have much choice. And you can go back over the channel. I'm not his biggest fan. It's not like I'm sitting there going, oh my God, let's get the Bunting out. But I think I think people are sometimes too blinded by things that have happened in the past. I think if you're just looking at what he's done and how the team has progressed, I think it's really difficult to argue against. Although you have both done a brilliant job of it.
Okay, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but right. I understand you. I get everything you said, and I do agree. I agree. When you look at our history, I completely understand. However, your point about what does Elatun have that Mark Skinner doesn't? I think ponytail. Yeah, I think the answer does not matter about trophies. I think the answer of what she has that he doesn't is passion. I think that is the key to being a legend, because obviously he's passionate about the team. We know he cares about the team, but I've never seen that level of pure United from Mark Skinner that I have seen from her. And I think that is the difference. That's my final comment.
Fair enough. I don't think you have to have a statue to become a legend. That's absolutely not the case. And I think this is the problem. Again, you're all, I say you're all, I'm not talking to you two. We're all conflating the word legend as being this all-encompassing, incredibly difficult sort of thing where it's got to be they're just out of their skin. But I mean, listen, if you were to Google the word legend, it actually says an extremely famous or notorious person, especially in a particular field. So, I think if we're being brutal, it's definitely notorious. There's no doubt on that one for this. So, listen, I think people getting too enamored with the word. I think with what we've had, I don't think we can argue at the moment. Do I think he's going to be a legend in 100 years' time? Not really. He'll just be the bloke that won us our first major trophy. I don't think that will be the case. But having said that, I find it interesting that people are saying, because at the end of this year, all right, he's not going to win the league. But if he's won the Champions League, I think by that point, people will be sitting there going, all right, well, very interesting. Very, very interesting. So we'll see. Listen, that got absolutely derailed, but what a question that was, Couture. I absolutely love that. It's blown my mind. And I can't believe we've never thought of asking that question before. This is why you need opposition fans sometimes. This is why you need it. So yeah, too strong of a word, says Olivia. That's what I mean. People are going for the word. I don't know. I think it's 5 games away from legend status. He doesn't even need to win them all. That's very interesting as well. Crikey. Right, let's draw a line under this. Who's going to be the winner at the end of the day on Sunday was the poll. I can confirm that 7% of you thought it would be football. 10% of you, unsurprisingly, thought it would be Chelsea, which means we've got 83% worth of Manchester United fans in the stream today, because that is who they have gone for. What's the score going to be? By the time we get to Sunday evening, what will the legend Mark Skinner and his legendary band of merry women, what will they have achieved? What will the score be?
Sorry, I wasn't sure who was going first then. I'm gonna say 2-0. I'm gonna, like I said, I just feel like up front Chelsea haven't got what they did have at the minute, and we've got quite a few options there. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna say maybe delusional of me to say that, but I'm gonna say 2-0.
What is this? Is this an actual thing? Park and Rolfer suggested it would be 8-4. Is that?
If it is, I don't think I'll make it through the game. Never mind the players. I think I will be lay on the floor. I don't think that would be,
If that's 8-4, we're going to have to delete this show and redo it, because the opening where we talk about, it's not a very interesting game, is it, after the internationals? I'd have to shut me right up. But yes, there we go. Little Sophie going 2-0. 4-0 says Owen. Draw again over here. 2-1 says Anne Becky, saying 3-1 Mel, Turland and Park. They did a challenge. Let's change it up before. Got ya. Okay. The last time we rather than WWE won a cup, it was 4-0 save again. Absolutely, I would love that. I know you mean we. Cena winning a cup. It was quite funny. So, what's your score?
I'm going to say 3-2 to us. I think it's going to be a messy one. Yeah. Sign me up.
Looking forward to it. Absolutely. I do think we'll win. I thought we won last time as well. But it's been one of those crazy days. I believe this is the one we have to win. And when I say have to win, as in like it is the most present and available opportunity that we will get. And I think losing this one as well as the FA Cup would really not help us with our mental block. So I think we need to win it. I think we'll be up for winning it. Let's be honest. Chelsea, and then this is a stat that I haven't thrown out there yet, Chelsea, Birmingham and Arsenal share the record for the most finals lost. If Chelsea were to lose it, they would be the side with the most lost finals on their own. And if I'm honest, I fancy that being what we've done. So I'm going to go 3-1. I think, yes, we could score a few goals. They will score because they're Chelsea and they always do, and they'll probably do it first. But there we go. That's where I am. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this. I said to the girls before we started, do you know what? It's not the end of the world if it finishes a little bit early. I did a Connor, and what we've done, it's gone longer than we normally do. Monday will probably only be 20 minutes after this, but what a fantastic preview this has been. Just showing it may well be the Subway Cup final, but hey, there's still some excitement and some passion going in there. Beth, so pleasure to have you both with us. Absolutely delighted to have you all in the chat as well. You've been superb. Big up to the Chelsea fans as well. Thank you for coming on and being your usual respectful selves. I love the fact that you can come in, we can have a good bit of banter and talk about the game and how we're feeling, and the fact that it is so absolutely safe for everybody, and we're not just sat here having an absolute drama, having to kick people out. So that's wonderful. Well, there we go. It'll also be the battle of the best goalkeepers in the world. If one of them comes out with a clean sheet, do we say it's them? I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. We'll be back on Monday evening, of course, because Monday evening is when we will be either celebrating or commiserating. But whatever happens, we'll do that all together right here on All for United WFC, 7 p.m. Set your alarm clock, and we will see you there. Good night, all. Take care.